As night falls over the rolling hills and misty valleys of ancient Britain, we embark on a gentle journey through time, where the whispers of the past mingle with the soft rustle of leaves and the distant calls of nocturnal creatures. Tonight, we will drift together through the long and intricate story of the Druids, the learned priests, philosophers, and advisors who shaped the spiritual and social life of Britain in the centuries before and during the Roman presence. This journey is not a hurried one. We move slowly with attention and care, allowing each image and idea to settle in the mind like a leaf drifting to rest upon a quiet pond. Long before the first Roman legions set foot upon these islands, the land was already alive with human activity. Forests stretched far and wide, interrupted occasionally by meadows where flocks grazed and rivers curved through the valleys in silver ribbons. Small villages of timber and thatch dotted the landscape, while the distant hum of life in settlements larger and more complex hinted at the social networks that bound these early communities together. It is here, in this world both wild and carefully tended, that the earliest Druids begin to emerge, their presence marked not by the walls of a building, but by the enduring imprint of their teachings upon the hearts and minds of their people. The word Druid itself carries a weight of mystery. Scholars believe it derives from the ancient Celtic word druid, meaning oak knower, or wise like the oak, reflecting the profound connection these figures held with nature. In the heart of sacred groves, often under the sweeping branches of venerable oaks, they practiced rituals that honored the cycles of the sun and moon, the changing of the seasons, and the spirits that were believed to inhabit the earth, the rivers, and the skies. We can imagine the soft flicker of firelight on ancient stones, the murmur of incantations, the smell of smoke from burning herbs curling into the cool night air. Yet the Druids were not merely spiritual guides. They were teachers, mediators, and philosophers. Their knowledge encompassed astronomy, law, poetry, and history. They memorized long verses recounting the deeds of ancestors, the migrations of tribes, and the wisdom of past generations. These oral traditions allowed communities to remember and honor their lineage in a time before written texts were common. Imagine a young acolyte sitting cross-legged beneath an ancient tree, repeating the verses in quiet cadence, letting the rhythm of language intertwine with the rhythm of their breath. As we drift through these centuries, we will meet the communities of Iron Age Britain, whose daily lives were intertwined with the land and the seasons. People farmed with simple tools, built homes with timber and wattle, and forged metal for tools, weapons, and ornaments. The Druids observed and guided these societies, ensuring harmony between people, the land, and the spiritual forces they believed governed their world. Their influence reached the highest chiefs, advising kings and nobles, yet it extended as well to ordinary villagers, shaping the very moral fabric of society. History often presents the Druids in fragments. Roman writers such as Julius Caesar and Tacitus recorded their impressions, sometimes admiring, sometimes fearful. Archaeology, however, allows us to piece together a more nuanced image. Stones etched with symbols, earthworks that trace circular patterns across the landscape, and burial mounds that hold traces of ceremonial life all speak to a culture deeply invested in the sacred rhythms of nature and human society. Each artifact is a whisper from a past that asks us to slow down, to observe, and to reflect. Tonight, we will move gently from the earliest settlements of Britain through the height of Druidic influence, exploring their philosophies, their rituals, and their enduring legacy. We will imagine the quiet mornings by mist-covered rivers, the long evenings around communal fires, and the silent, sacred spaces where the Druids taught and practiced their art. Let the imagery settle softly in your mind, allowing the cadence of history to ease your thoughts and guide you toward a calm, reflective sleep. As our journey begins, take a deep breath, letting the rhythm of the landscape, the people, and the rituals of ancient Britain fill your awareness. Each word you hear is a stepping stone across centuries, each description a gentle light illuminating the path through the past. In the stillness of the night, we will listen closely to the world as it once was, and perhaps feel in a subtle, soothing way, the presence of those ancient, wise figures whose influence lingers even today. As we continue our gentle journey through time, we drift slowly into the distant past, when Britain was a landscape of thick forests, winding rivers, and wide, open meadows. Here, in the quiet rhythms of nature, the foundations of Druidic culture begin to take shape. It is a world largely untouched by large cities, yet alive with communities deeply attuned to the cycles of the earth. The earliest people of these lands lived close to the land, their daily lives intertwined with its gifts and challenges. They hunted with flint-tipped spears, gathered wild fruits, and tended to small herds of domesticated animals. Their dwellings were simple, round huts of timber and wattle, with thatched roofs that blended seamlessly into the surrounding greenery. In this setting, the figure of the Druid emerges, not from written history, for writing was not yet common in these lands, but from careful observation, ritual, and oral memory. The word Druid, recalling the oak tree and wisdom, signals a deep reverence for nature, and the understanding that humans are part of a larger web of life. In the earliest centuries, before the iron tools that later shaped farming and weaponry, Druids served as guides, mediators, and observers. They noticed the phases of the moon and the movement of the stars, the migrations of birds and the patterns of seasonal floods. Each observation was folded into the growing body of knowledge that would define their teachings. Communities of this early Britain were small, often organized around extended families or clans. Life was rhythmic, governed by the seasons. Spring brought new growth and the promise of abundant crops. Summer offered long days to cultivate the land and harvest honey and wild fruits. Autumn was a time of gathering and storing provisions, while winter invited reflection and storytelling beside the communal fires. Within this cyclical rhythm, the Druids played a central role, interpreting natural signs and guiding their communities toward harmony with the land. Imagine the quiet murmur of voices around a fire, the soft crackle of flames, and the way stories of ancestors and spirits passed gently from one generation to the next. By the Iron Age, approximately 800 BCE, the emergence of metalworking transformed life in Britain. Bronze and later iron tools allowed more effective farming, stronger weapons, and intricate decorative items. Settlements became more complex and trade networks expanded. Druids adapted to these changes, integrating practical knowledge with their spiritual insights. They observed not only the stars and seasons but also the shifting social structures of tribes and emerging chiefdoms. Their authority grew not merely from ritual but from their ability to counsel leaders, mediate disputes, and educate youth in the values and laws of the community. Central to Druidic practice was the understanding of sacred spaces. Groves of ancient oak trees, hilltops with panoramic views, and rivers that glinted in the sun became sites of reflection and ritual. These spaces were often chosen for their natural beauty and their perceived spiritual energy. Stones, often standing upright in circles or aligned with celestial events, marked places of ritual significance. While the exact ceremonies remain largely mysterious, archaeology suggests that these sites were focal points for gatherings, seasonal festivals, and communal decision-making. Picture a soft morning mist curling over a grove, the sunlight filtering through the leaves, and the quiet presence of those who gather here to honor the unseen forces that shape their lives. Education among the Druids was rigorous, though entirely oral. Young apprentices spent years memorizing long poetic verses that encompassed law, history, philosophy, and astronomy. These verses were not mere recitations. They were tools for understanding the world, for remembering the deeds of ancestors, and for guiding moral choices. Repetition, rhythm, and melody aided memory, allowing knowledge to be preserved accurately across generations. Imagine a young acolyte seated beneath a great tree, listening intently to an elder's gentle voice, and repeating verses until they became a part of their very being, as natural as the wind through the branches. One of the most fascinating aspects of Druidic life is their integration of the spiritual and the practical. Rituals were not separate from daily life. They were woven into it. Harvest festivals celebrated the abundance of the land, while rites of passage marked significant stages in human life: birth, initiation, marriage, and death. Druids guided these ceremonies, ensuring that each was conducted with respect and in alignment with the rhythms of nature. Their teachings emphasized balance between the human and natural worlds, between community needs and individual growth, and between past wisdom and present action. Trade and travel also shaped early Druidic society. Communities in Britain were not isolated. They interacted with neighbors across the seas, exchanging goods, ideas, and techniques. The Druids, as educators and advisors, absorbed these influences, incorporating new knowledge into their own frameworks. Metalwork, for example, shows similarities across regions, suggesting both practical learning and symbolic significance. Druids may have observed not only the stars for seasonal guidance but also patterns of social change, understanding that wisdom is dynamic, evolving with the environment and society. Even in the quiet corners of daily life, the influence of the Druids is apparent. A villager planting seeds might pause to offer thanks to the earth. A chief resolving a dispute might seek the counsel of a Druid, whose memory of tribal laws and oral histories provides insight that surpasses simple authority. In this way, Druidic culture fostered a sense of connection, between individuals, between communities, and between people and the world around them. Each gesture, each ceremony, each observation reinforces a tapestry of life, complex yet harmonious. As we drift gently through these early centuries, we can imagine walking slowly through a forest in the soft light of dawn, hearing the distant call of a bird and the rustle of animals in undergrowth. We might glimpse a gathering of Druids beneath ancient oaks, their presence calm and deliberate, their eyes attuned to the subtle signals of the world. In this way, history is not only an account of events but a feeling, a rhythm, a connection to those who came before. Tonight, as your mind begins to rest, allow the image of these early Druids to linger softly. Picture the round huts and open meadows, the sacred groves where knowledge is whispered and passed on, the careful attention to the cycles of nature, and the gentle authority of those who guide with wisdom. Let the centuries unfold like the petals of a slow-blooming flower, each detail settling quietly in your consciousness. In this calm reflection, the origins of Druidic Britain reveal themselves not as a distant past but as a living, breathing world, inviting you to rest within its rhythms. As the centuries drift onward, we move into a time when the Druids are no longer merely observers of the land. They become central to the social and spiritual fabric of Britain. By the first millennium BCE, the communities of Iron Age Britain have grown in complexity. Villages cluster more closely together, fortified settlements known as hill forts rise upon elevated ground, and trade networks stretch across rivers, coasts, and distant lands. Within this evolving world, the Druids emerge as guides, teachers, and advisors, their authority extending across both the spiritual and political realms. Imagine the landscape at dawn, fog rising from river valleys, dew glistening on the grass, and the low hum of village life stirring. Farmers tend to their fields, raising barley, wheat, and oats, while herders lead flocks to grazing meadows. Potters shape clay into vessels, and blacksmiths hammer iron into tools and ornaments. Amid these activities, Druids move quietly but purposefully. They carry no weapons, yet their influence is profound. They counsel chiefs on matters of law and dispute, advise communities on seasonal rituals, and preserve knowledge that connects the people to their ancestors and the cosmos. One remarkable aspect of Druidic influence is their role in governance. Early Iron Age Britain lacked a formal, codified legal system. Instead, law was maintained orally through memory, precedent, and the guidance of wise leaders. Druids served as mediators, recalling traditions, negotiating disputes, and ensuring that justice was administered in ways that maintained social harmony. Picture a chief and a Druid standing together beneath the shade of an oak, their conversation calm, deliberate, and imbued with centuries of understanding. The Druids' words are not merely advice, they are the voice of memory, history, and balance. Education remains central to Druidic authority. Initiates spend many years learning the intricate tapestry of knowledge: poetry, genealogy, astronomy, law, and philosophy. This education is rigorous and highly structured, though entirely oral. Memory techniques, including verse and song, allow knowledge to be preserved across generations. Young students, seated cross-legged in sacred groves or beside gently flowing rivers, recite long passages from memory, their voices harmonizing with the quiet rhythm of nature. The discipline is as much spiritual as intellectual, training not only the mind but the attention, patience, and sensitivity of each student. The Druids' understanding of astronomy and the natural world is profound. They observe the movement of the sun, moon, and stars, tracking the solstices and equinoxes to guide agricultural and ceremonial life. Stone circles, standing stones, and other monuments, some later associated with famous sites like Stonehenge, suggest a precise awareness of celestial patterns. Imagine a winter solstice dawn, the first light spilling over the horizon, illuminating stones carefully aligned to capture the sun's rays. Druids may stand in quiet reverence, noting the interplay of shadow and light, connecting human activity to the cosmic rhythm. Ritual and spirituality permeate daily life. Seasonal festivals mark key moments in the agricultural calendar. Samhain, a festival signaling the transition from harvest to winter, invites reflection and preparation for the colder months. Beltane, celebrating the onset of summer, honors fertility and growth. Within these ceremonies, Druids guide offerings, chants, and symbolic gestures that affirm the connection between the human, natural, and spiritual worlds. Picture a midsummer night, a circle of people surrounding a central fire, leaves and flowers woven into hair and clothing, the air carrying the scent of herbs and smoke. The Druid's presence is calm, deliberate, and reassuring, bridging the earthly and the divine. As their influence grows, Druids also engage with broader networks of trade and culture. Britain, though geographically distant, is not isolated. Traders bring goods and ideas from Gaul, Iberia, and beyond. Metalwork, decorative objects, and imported pottery demonstrate both practicality and aesthetic sophistication. Druids absorb these influences, integrating new knowledge into their teachings, while maintaining a continuity of tradition. They recognize the dynamic nature of wisdom, understanding that the strength of their culture lies in balancing innovation with preservation. Oral history, poetry, and storytelling form the backbone of cultural memory. Druids recount the deeds of ancestors, the migrations of tribes, and the moral lessons embedded within past events. These stories are not entertainment alone. They serve as moral and ethical frameworks, guiding communities in how to act justly and harmoniously. Imagine a quiet evening in a hill fort, children leaning against adults' knees, eyes wide with curiosity, while the Druid's voice weaves tales of heroism, cleverness, and compassion. The stories resonate, imprinting values and a sense of identity on every listener. Druids are also deeply connected to the landscape itself. Sacred groves, hilltops, rivers, and lakes are chosen for ritual significance, not for grandeur but for their spiritual resonance. Each place holds stories, memories, and energies that are carefully observed and respected. When a Druid steps into a grove or approaches a stone circle, they are not simply entering a location. They are entering a dialogue with the land, honoring the cycles of life, and listening to the wisdom embedded in the natural world. This attentive presence fosters a sense of calm, a reflective awareness of the slow unfolding of time, and a reverence for continuity and change. The social influence of Druids extends into moments of conflict and diplomacy. Chiefs and tribal leaders often consult them before making decisions about warfare, alliances, or disputes. The Druid's role is to advise with neutrality, wisdom, and foresight, ensuring that choices align not only with immediate needs but with long-term harmony. Their counsel is sought not through coercion but through trust, grounded in knowledge, experience, and ethical integrity. Even in moments of tension, the Druid embodies calm deliberation, offering measured words that encourage reflection over impulsive action. Daily life in Druidic Britain is rich and layered. Villagers wake to the gentle light of dawn, tending fields, herds, and workshops. Druids move among them, quietly observing, teaching, and participating in ceremonies that honor both the spiritual and practical aspects of life. In the evenings, communal fires illuminate faces and voices, fostering a sense of togetherness. As night falls, rituals and stories settle into the heart of the community, creating a tapestry of memory, guidance, and moral grounding. Within this rhythm, the Druid's presence is subtle but vital, a soft pulse guiding the flow of life without disturbance. By the time we reach this period, Druids have become emblematic of a society that values knowledge, reflection, and harmony with the natural world. Their teachings and rituals shape daily life, governance, education, and spiritual practice. Communities are bound together by shared beliefs, guided by the wisdom of those who have devoted their lives to understanding the intricate patterns of human existence and the cycles of nature. They create a world that balances continuity with change, contemplation with action, and human desire with cosmic rhythm. As we let the centuries drift softly past, we can close our eyes and imagine the gentle cadence of life in Iron Age Britain. The quiet movement of livestock across misty meadows, the soft murmur of voices around fires, the calm presence of Druids beneath ancient oaks, all merge into a slow, soothing rhythm. Let these images settle gently in the mind. Imagine the patience, observation, and wisdom that underpin this society. As your thoughts ease and your body begins to relax, the influence of the Druids unfolds like a slow, steady tide, leaving behind a tranquil sense of connection and continuity. In the stillness of night, we reflect on the rise of Druidic influence not as an abstract history, but as a living, breathing presence. It is in the quiet moments, the careful attention to life and the land, that their legacy takes root. Let the imagery linger: the forests, the rivers, the stone circles, and the calm, deliberate footsteps of those who guide with wisdom. In this serene contemplation, your mind drifts gently through the centuries, embraced by the soft rhythms of Druidic Britain. As we drift further into the heart of ancient Britain, we now focus on the daily rhythms and spiritual life of the Druids, whose presence shaped both ordinary routines and sacred ceremonies. In the quiet of dawn, when mist hovers over meadows and rivers glint with early sunlight, Druids move with careful intention, bridging the tangible world of human activity with the unseen currents of spirit and wisdom. Their days are measured not solely by the rising and setting of the sun but by an attunement to the cycles of nature, the phases of the moon, and the subtle patterns of the landscape. The life of a Druid begins with observation and reflection. As the first light of day touches the hills, they walk slowly among groves and fields, noting the growth of plants, the behavior of animals, and the signs embedded in the weather. These observations are not merely practical; they carry symbolic weight, informing rituals, teachings, and the guidance offered to communities. Imagine a soft breeze stirring the branches of ancient oaks, the rustle of leaves punctuating the tranquil silence, and the Druid moving among them with calm awareness, sensing the interplay between natural forces and human life. Education is central to daily practice. Young acolytes spend many years memorizing sacred verses, genealogies, astronomical knowledge, laws, and philosophical teachings. These recitations are rhythmic and melodic, often delivered in the shade of sacred trees or beside flowing streams. The repetition ingrains the knowledge deeply, allowing it to be recalled accurately when guiding communities or performing rituals. Visualize a circle of students, each seated cross-legged, repeating the words of an elder's soft voice, their attention both focused and meditative. The sound of their voices blends with the gentle flow of water, creating an atmosphere of calm, reflective learning. Druids are also skilled in healing and herbal knowledge. The forests and meadows of Britain provide an abundant pharmacopoeia: leaves, roots, flowers, and barks with medicinal properties carefully catalogued through centuries of observation. A Druid may prepare remedies for common ailments, advising on diet, ritual, and natural therapies. Picture the slow, deliberate process of gathering herbs at dawn, the soft scent of freshly cut leaves, and the care taken in combining these gifts of the land into healing infusions. This practice reinforces the Druidic principle that the human body, mind, and spirit are inseparable from the natural world. Ritual practice is a cornerstone of Druidic life. Sacred groves, hilltops, and water sources serve as stages for ceremonies that honor the cycles of the year and the mysteries of existence. Seasonal festivals mark important agricultural milestones, such as planting and harvest, as well as transitions in human life, including births, initiations, and marriages. One can imagine the serene presence of a Druid standing before a circle of worshippers, guiding chants and gestures, their calm voice merging with the rhythm of nature. Fires may burn softly, smoke rising in thin streams to the sky, while participants move slowly and deliberately, reinforcing the interconnectedness of all things. Central to many rituals is an awareness of celestial patterns. Druids track the movements of the sun, moon, and stars, using this knowledge to determine the timing of festivals and agricultural work. Monuments and standing stones, some aligned with solstices or equinoxes, act as markers of cosmic order. Picture a midwinter dawn at a stone circle, the first rays of sunlight illuminating the stones, shadows stretching across the frost-covered ground, and Druids observing in quiet reverence. These moments are both symbolic and practical, anchoring human life within the larger rhythms of the cosmos. Music, poetry, and storytelling are woven into daily and ceremonial life. The recitation of genealogies, epic tales, and moral lessons fosters communal identity and preserves collective memory. A Druid may sing a poem recounting the deeds of ancestors, the migration of tribes, or the wisdom of the natural world. Such storytelling is slow, deliberate, and rhythmic, echoing through groves and villages, inviting listeners into a state of reflective awareness. Imagine a firelit evening in a hilltop settlement, children leaning against elders, eyes wide, while the soft cadences of history and morality drift through the night air. Druids also serve as arbiters and counselors. In disputes between clans or families, they offer guidance grounded in law, tradition, and ethical principles. Their role is not coercive but advisory, rooted in the community's trust and respect. Picture two villagers seeking counsel beneath the spreading branches of a sacred oak. The Druid listens attentively, recalling precedents, weighing the consequences, and guiding both parties toward a resolution that maintains social harmony. Such moments illustrate the integration of spiritual insight and practical wisdom that defines Druidic life. Daily routines are punctuated by meditation and reflection. Druids may spend long hours in silent contemplation, attuned to the flow of the wind, the movement of clouds, and the songs of birds. These moments cultivate patience, clarity, and sensitivity, qualities essential to their role as educators, healers, and advisors. Visualize a Druid seated by a river at sunset, the water reflecting the last light of day, as they breathe slowly and evenly, letting each thought dissolve into the quietude around them. This practice nurtures both inner calm and an expanded awareness of the interconnectedness of life. Art and craftsmanship are not separate from spiritual life. Carvings on wood or stone often bear symbolic designs, reflecting both aesthetic and ritual significance. Ornaments crafted from bronze, iron, and bone are worn during ceremonies and daily life, linking personal adornment to cultural meaning. A Druid might oversee the creation of such objects, ensuring that each bears appropriate symbolism and harmony with natural forms. Picture a craftsman's slow, deliberate hands shaping a pendant, the Druid offering quiet guidance, the rhythm of hammer and chisel echoing the careful cadence of thought and ritual. Even in leisure, the Druid's influence is gentle yet pervasive. Communal feasts and celebrations occur alongside reflective games, songs, and poetry, reinforcing social bonds and collective memory. These gatherings are opportunities for both joy and teaching, as lessons from the past are embedded in playful or ceremonial forms. Imagine a quiet summer evening, villagers gathered on a grassy hill, the setting sun casting long shadows, as a Druid recites verses that entertain, instruct, and inspire contemplation simultaneously. As night deepens, Druids often perform rites that honor the cycles of life and death. Funerary practices, while varied, reflect a profound understanding of mortality as part of the natural and spiritual order. Mounds, cairns, or stone enclosures mark resting places, and rituals may include offerings, prayers, or symbolic gestures to ease the transition of the soul. These ceremonies are conducted with calm respect, emphasizing continuity, remembrance, and reverence. Picture the quiet hush of a grove under moonlight, the flicker of small fires illuminating gentle faces, as Druids lead the community in reflection on impermanence and renewal. The daily life of Druids, though deeply spiritual, is also thoroughly practical. They participate in agriculture, assist with healing, oversee education, and counsel leaders, all while maintaining a continuous connection to the sacred rhythms of the natural world. This integration of the spiritual, intellectual, and practical creates a balanced, harmonious society in which each individual and community activity is imbued with meaning. Imagine the soft, rhythmic life of a village. the lowing of cattle, the hum of conversation, the flowing river, and the calm, guiding presence of Druids moving thoughtfully through it all. As we let these images settle, imagine walking slowly through a forest at dawn, the mist curling around ancient oaks, the gentle murmur of life stirring in the undergrowth. Hear the quiet footsteps of Druids along the mossy paths, the soft voice of a student reciting verses, the rhythmic strike of a hammer on bronze, and the distant sound of a river flowing over stones. These images flow together into a gentle, steady rhythm, guiding your thoughts into calm reflection and quietude. Tonight, as you drift toward sleep, carry with you the soft awareness of Druidic life, the observant attention, the rhythmic learning, the reverence for nature, and the harmonious balance of spiritual and practical wisdom. Let the vision of sacred groves, stone circles, communal fires, and quiet rivers infuse your mind with gentle calm. In this reflective space, we sense the enduring presence of Druids, not as distant figures of legend, but as living guides who shaped daily life, spiritual practice, and communal harmony in ancient Britain. As we continue our journey through ancient Britain, we turn our attention to the deeper currents that guided Druidic life, their philosophy, understanding of the cosmos, and role in law and governance. In the quiet of early morning, when mist rises slowly from rivers and the first rays of sunlight touch the hills, the wisdom of the Druids unfolds, not in hurried lectures or written texts, but through observation, reflection, and patient study. Their knowledge encompasses the human, natural, and cosmic worlds, interwoven in ways that are both practical and profoundly spiritual. Central to Druidic philosophy is the belief in the interconnectedness of all life. Humans, animals, plants, rivers, stones, and stars are not separate entities but parts of a living, dynamic web. This understanding informs their guidance, rituals, and daily actions. Picture a Druid walking slowly through a forest, each step taken with awareness, each movement deliberate. Birds call softly from the trees, leaves whisper in the wind, and the Druid's presence blends harmoniously with the environment. In these quiet, attentive moments, philosophy is not an abstract concept but a lived experience, a rhythm embedded in every gesture and observation. Druidic philosophy also emphasizes balance, between mind and body, between action and contemplation, and between the immediate needs of the community and the long-term health of the land. Ethical principles are taught through stories, poetry, and ritual. Tales of ancestors' courage, cleverness, and compassion serve as moral frameworks for decision-making. The young acolyte learns not only to memorize these stories but to internalize the lessons, understanding the subtle ways in which virtue and wisdom manifest in daily life. Imagine a circle of students seated beneath a great oak, reciting the deeds of heroes, the soft cadence of words blending with the natural sounds of the forest. Astronomy holds a special place in Druidic knowledge. Druids carefully observe the sun, moon, stars, and planets, tracking their movements to understand seasonal cycles, agricultural timing, and cosmic order. Stone circles, alignments, and other monuments testify to their precise observations. Picture the winter solstice at a sacred stone circle, the sun's first light illuminating carefully placed stones, casting long shadows across frost-covered earth. Druids stand in quiet reverence, noting the angle of the rays, the symmetry of shadows, and the timing of the sunrise, connecting earthly life with the celestial rhythm. The phases of the moon are particularly significant, guiding both agricultural and ceremonial life. Planting, harvesting, and ritual events are timed according to lunar cycles. Imagine a crescent moon rising above a quiet river, its reflection shimmering on the water's surface. Druids gather in the soft glow of moonlight, conducting ceremonies that honor both natural cycles and spiritual mysteries. Each phase is a gentle reminder of change, continuity, and the passage of time, offering a rhythm to which human life can attune itself. Druidic law is another vital aspect of their philosophy. In the absence of written legal codes, law is maintained orally, preserved through memorization, recitation, and careful teaching. Druids serve as arbiters, remembering past decisions, genealogies, and customary rules. Imagine a dispute between neighboring clans. The Druid listens attentively, recalling precedents, weighing consequences, and guiding the parties toward a resolution that maintains harmony. Their judgments are respected not because of coercive authority but because of trust, wisdom, and deep knowledge of both human nature and tradition. Oral memory extends beyond law to history and genealogy. Druids recount the lineage of tribes, the migrations of ancestors, and the deeds that define cultural identity. This preservation of collective memory reinforces community cohesion and ensures that values, ethics, and historical understanding are passed from generation to generation. Picture an elder druid reciting the genealogy of a family, each name spoken with reverence, the narrative weaving together personal identity, communal history, and cosmic awareness. Listening, the young acolyte internalizes both content and cadence, connecting past, present, and future in a seamless continuum. Philosophical inquiry among Druids is contemplative rather than argumentative. Questions of existence, morality, and natural law are explored through dialogue, observation, and reflection. Young students learn to ask thoughtful questions, to observe carefully, and to seek patterns and connections rather than definitive answers. Imagine a quiet grove at sunset, an elder and a student sitting side by side in contemplation. The wind stirs the leaves, the distant river murmurs, and ideas flow gently, unhurried, as the mind stretches to encompass both the tangible and the intangible. Druids also integrate poetry into philosophy. Poems are not only artistic expressions but vehicles for transmitting complex ideas about ethics, cosmology, and human nature. Rhythmic and melodic patterns aid memory, while metaphor and imagery allow nuanced concepts to be grasped intuitively. Consider a druid reciting a verse about the cycles of the seasons, comparing the growth of crops to human virtues, the turning of the moon to the passage of wisdom, and the flow of rivers to the continuity of life. Such imagery anchors abstract ideas in lived experience, creating an internalized understanding that is both reflective and practical. Community guidance is central to Druidic practice. Chiefs and elders often seek counsel on matters ranging from governance to agriculture. Druids provide advice grounded in observation, tradition, and ethical reasoning. Picture a council meeting atop a grassy hill, leaders seated around a druid, listening attentively as they weigh historical precedents, environmental conditions, and the well-being of the people. The druid's calm presence encourages reflection and thoughtful decision-making, fostering stability, fairness, and foresight within the community. Druids also mediate relationships with neighboring tribes. Alliances, trade agreements, and peace treaties are facilitated through their guidance. Their understanding of human nature, memory of past events, and attention to fairness allow them to act as impartial and trusted mediators. Imagine two clan leaders meeting in a quiet grove, the druid seated nearby. Words are measured, gestures deliberate, and the atmosphere calm. Through careful observation and ethical counsel, the druid helps navigate tensions and foster lasting agreements. Ritual, philosophy, astronomy, and law converge in sacred ceremonies. Seasonal festivals, solstice gatherings, and initiations are opportunities to integrate knowledge, community, and spiritual awareness. A midsummer festival, for instance, may involve music, poetry, offerings, and meditative practices aligned with the solar cycle. Imagine the warm glow of a fire illuminating faces, the gentle scent of herbs drifting through the air, and druids guiding participants with calm, deliberate movements. Each action resonates with cosmic, social, and personal significance, reinforcing the unity of life and the continuity of wisdom. In daily life, druids practice mindfulness and reflection. Walking slowly through forests, observing rivers, or sitting in silence, they cultivate awareness, patience, and attentiveness. These qualities inform teaching, counseling, and ritual. Imagine a quiet dawn, dew glistening on leaves, birds singing softly, and a druid standing alone, breathing slowly, attuned to the subtleties of the environment. This practice nurtures inner calm and strengthens the capacity to guide others with wisdom and empathy. As night falls, druids reflect on the interwoven patterns of existence. Their understanding of law, ethics, celestial rhythms, and human behavior provides a framework for living harmoniously. Picture the last light of day fading behind distant hills, shadows stretching across fields and groves. Druids stand in quiet observation, contemplating the balance of life, the flow of time, and the enduring cycles that connect all things. In these moments, philosophy, astronomy, and law merge seamlessly into a living practice, guiding both personal conduct and communal life. Tonight, as you settle into quiet reflection, allow the imagery of Druidic philosophy to drift softly through your mind. Visualize sacred groves, stone alignments, flowing rivers, and calm, observant figures walking slowly through the landscape. Hear the rhythm of their voices in recited verse, sense the gentle order of celestial cycles, and feel the harmonious balance they cultivate between human, natural, and spiritual realms. In this serene contemplation, the wisdom of the Druids offers not only historical insight but also a gentle guide to reflection, calm, and the restful flow of thought. As we continue our journey through the misty hills and winding rivers of ancient Britain, we now turn our attention to the broader influence of the Druids within their communities. By this time, Druids are not only teachers and philosophers but central figures in the social, spiritual, and political life of the people. Their presence permeates daily routines, ceremonial gatherings, and communal celebrations, weaving together the practical and the sacred into a harmonious rhythm of existence. In the early morning, villages awaken slowly. Smoke rises from thatched roofs, and the soft clatter of tools signals the beginning of daily labor. Farmers tend to plowed fields, herders lead flocks across dew-kissed meadows, and artisans shape clay, wood, and metal into objects of both utility and beauty. Amid these movements, Druids walk quietly, observing, advising, and teaching. They may pause beside a young apprentice, correcting the recitation of a verse or guiding the careful placement of stones in a ritual circle. Their authority is subtle yet pervasive, grounded in respect, knowledge, and a deep understanding of both the human and natural worlds. One of the most visible aspects of Druidic influence is in the guidance of rulers and chiefs. Leaders seek counsel on matters of governance, alliances, and disputes. The Druid's role is to advise thoughtfully, drawing upon memory, law, and ethical principles. Imagine a council meeting atop a grassy hill, overlooking a winding river. Chiefs sit in a semicircle, their attention calm and deliberate, while a Druid speaks in measured tones. Each word is considered, each suggestion weighed against the history of the tribe and the wisdom of the natural world. Such counsel ensures stability, fairness, and foresight, reinforcing the Druid's role as a trusted mediator. Education remains central to Druidic practice within society. Young members of the community are apprenticed to these learned figures, absorbing knowledge through oral instruction, ritual participation, and careful observation of the natural and social world. This education is rigorous, requiring years of memorization, meditation, and practical application. Students learn not only philosophy, astronomy, and law but also ethics, storytelling, and ritual practice. Picture a group of acolytes seated beneath the branches of an ancient oak, reciting verses that recount the deeds of ancestors, the migration of tribes, and moral lessons embedded within myth. The cadence of the words merges with the rustling leaves and distant river, creating an immersive environment for learning and reflection. Rituals are a central feature of Druidic life, reinforcing social cohesion and spiritual awareness. Sacred groves, hilltops, and water sources serve as stages for ceremonies that mark the cycles of the year, agricultural milestones, and key moments in human life. Seasonal festivals such as Samhain, celebrating the transition from harvest to winter, or Beltane, welcoming the growth and fertility of spring, are marked with careful attention to timing, symbolism, and communal participation. Imagine a cool autumn evening. A circle of villagers gathers around a softly crackling fire, the scent of burning herbs mingling with the crisp air. Druids guide chants, offerings, and symbolic gestures, ensuring that each action aligns with cosmic rhythms and communal values. Music and poetry are deeply intertwined with rituals. The rhythmic recitation of ancient verses, the melodic intonation of chants, and the gentle strumming of stringed instruments enhance the sacred atmosphere. These artistic expressions are not mere entertainment, they are tools for teaching, memory, and moral reflection. Envision a midsummer night, the glow of a fire illuminating attentive faces, while a Druid recites a poem tracing the cycle of the sun, the virtues of ancestors and the harmony between humans and nature. The melody, words, and gestures intertwine, creating a layered experience that resonates in both mind and spirit. Druids also play a central role in rites of passage. Births, initiations, marriages, and funerals are observed with deliberate care, guided by ritual knowledge and ethical insight. Each stage of life is acknowledged as part of a continuum, connecting the individual to family, community, and the natural world. Imagine a young initiate kneeling before a druid beneath a grove of oak trees, the morning light filtering softly through the leaves. The ceremony is slow and deliberate, marked by gentle chants, symbolic gestures, and reflective silence. In these moments, personal growth, communal cohesion, and spiritual awareness merge seamlessly. Funerary practices demonstrate the druidic understanding of life, death, and continuity. Burial mounds, stone enclosures, and cairns mark resting places, often accompanied by offerings and symbolic items that honor the deceased. These rituals emphasize remembrance, reflection, and harmony with natural cycles. Picture the quiet hush of a grove under moonlight, soft shadows cast by flickering torches, as a druid leads the community in contemplation of mortality and renewal. Such ceremonies are not somber for their own sake but gentle reminders of life's continuity and the enduring presence of ancestors. The influence of druids extends beyond individual communities to interactions with neighboring tribes. They act as mediators in alliances, trade negotiations, and conflicts, relying on their knowledge of history, law, and human behavior. Imagine two clans meeting in a meadow, the soft breeze stirring grass and leaves, while a druid facilitates dialogue with calm authority. Words are chosen carefully, precedents are recalled, and guidance is offered with patience. Through these interventions, the druid fosters peace, cooperation, and mutual respect, reinforcing the social fabric across regions. Trade, craft, and artistic expression also reflect druidic influence. Objects of bronze, iron, and clay are often imbued with symbolic meaning, crafted under the guidance of druids to align with ritual and ethical significance. Imagine a craftsman shaping a bronze torque under the watchful eye of a druid, each strike of the hammer deliberate, each curve of the metal resonating with cultural and spiritual intent. Such practices illustrate the integration of aesthetic, practical, and ethical concerns, weaving everyday life into a broader tapestry of meaning. Daily routines in Druidic Britain are permeated by mindfulness and reflection. Druids move through villages, fields, and forests with attentive awareness, noticing the subtleties of nature, the behaviors of humans and animals, and the cycles of the environment. Each observation informs teaching, ritual, and guidance. Picture a druid walking along a riverbank at dawn, the water glistening in the soft light, birds calling from nearby trees. The movements are deliberate, calm, and attentive, cultivating patience, focus, and a harmonious understanding of life's rhythms. Festivals are occasions for communal gathering, celebration, and teaching. Samhain, Beltane, and the solstices are marked with music, poetry, ritual, and offerings. Fire is often central, symbolizing transformation, continuity, and connection with both ancestors and natural forces. Imagine the gentle warmth of flames illuminating the faces of villagers, the air fragrant with herbs and smoke, as a druid guides the ceremonial proceedings. Each act, gesture, and word reinforces communal bonds, ethical principles, and spiritual awareness. Through these practices, druids ensure that knowledge, morality, and culture are transmitted across generations. Their teachings guide practical life, ethical behavior, spiritual understanding, and social harmony. The slow, deliberate rhythms of ceremony, observation, and reflection encourage both community cohesion and individual growth. Picture a quiet evening, the sun setting behind distant hills, the air calm, and the presence of druids moving thoughtfully through villages and groves. Their influence is subtle yet pervasive, shaping every aspect of life with quiet wisdom. As we allow these images to settle in the mind, imagine the gentle cadence of life in Druidic Britain, the soft murmur of villagers, the distant flow of rivers, the flickering of fires in sacred groves, and the calm, deliberate movements of druids guiding and observing. Let this rhythm lull your thoughts into gentle calm, as centuries of knowledge, ritual, and reflection drift slowly through your consciousness. In the quiet reflection of night, the Druids' influence reveals a world where life, learning, and spirituality merge into a harmonious, contemplative existence, inviting your mind and body to rest peacefully. As our journey through the centuries continues, we reach a period of transformation in Britain. The Druids, once central to the spiritual, social, and political life of their communities, face new challenges as Roman influence spreads across the island. The arrival of Roman armies, settlements, and administrative structures brings profound change, yet even in decline the essence of Druidic wisdom endures, quietly shaping the cultural memory of Britain. Imagine the quiet forests and mist-covered hills of pre-Roman Britain. Villages thrive among the rivers and meadows, sacred groves are places of reflection, and stone circles echo with the soft resonance of seasonal ceremonies. Druids move deliberately through these landscapes, observing, teaching, and guiding communities. Yet, beyond the familiar hills, the distant rumble of Roman armies and the construction of roads, forts, and towns begins to alter the rhythm of daily life. Trade increases, foreign goods arrive, and new political structures are imposed. In this context, the Druids' role becomes both more difficult and more crucial, as they seek to maintain the spiritual and ethical continuity of their people amidst rapid change. Roman expansion introduces a different worldview. The Roman emphasis on law, written records, and urban centers contrasts with the oral traditions and natural philosophy of the Druids. Roman governors and soldiers often view Druidic influence with suspicion, recognizing the power of these leaders to unite communities, inspire resistance, and preserve independent thought. Historical accounts describe deliberate efforts to suppress Druidic authority, including restrictions on gatherings, prohibitions on teaching, and targeted campaigns against influential figures. Imagine a quiet grove, once bustling with ritual activity, now watched from afar by soldiers, its sacred presence unbowed but constrained by external power. Despite these pressures, the Druids adapt, preserving knowledge and practice through discreet teaching and integration with local customs. Their philosophy, emphasizing balance, observation, and ethical guidance, continues to influence communities even as formal authority diminishes. Picture an elder Druid passing wisdom to an attentive apprentice in the soft light of dawn, the sound of birds and rustling leaves blending with the quiet voice of instruction. These moments ensure the continuity of knowledge, embedding Druidic principles deeply within cultural memory. Ritual and spiritual practice also evolve. While some large ceremonial gatherings become restricted, smaller, localized observances continue in groves, near rivers, and at stone circles. The symbolic power of seasonal festivals endures, reminding communities of their connection to the land, the cycles of life, and the wisdom of ancestors. Imagine a small village gathering at sunrise during the solstice. The firelight flickers gently across attentive faces, leaves rustle softly in the morning breeze, and a Druid's calm guidance links the human, natural, and cosmic worlds. These quiet observances preserve tradition, offering reassurance and continuity in a changing environment. The integration of Druidic thought into broader society leaves a lasting legacy. Elements of their philosophy, ethics, and cosmology continue to shape folklore, oral tradition, and cultural practices long after the decline of formal Druidic authority. Stories of wise teachers, sacred groves, and the interconnectedness of life persist in memory and imagination. Picture a later generation recounting tales of ancestors who walked among oak trees, observed the stars, and taught the harmony of human and natural life. Even without formal institutions, the essence of Druidic wisdom quietly informs values, storytelling, and moral reflection. Roman influence also brings new perspectives that interact with Druidic knowledge. Roads and towns facilitate trade, communication, and cultural exchange, while Roman law and administration introduce new structures of governance. Druids, while resisting direct control, incorporate practical lessons from these systems, adapting guidance for communities under new social realities. Imagine a Druid walking along a Roman road, observing the movement of travelers and goods, reflecting on the interplay of tradition and innovation. Through such adaptation, the Druids maintain relevance and continuity, blending ancestral wisdom with contemporary experience. As Roman Britain develops, urban centers and fortifications grow, yet the rural landscape, forests, meadows and rivers, remains central to Druidic practice. Sacred spaces continue to provide grounding for ethical guidance, ritual and reflection. Picture the quiet stillness of a grove at twilight. Shadows lengthen, leaves rustle in the soft wind, and the Druid moves with deliberate calm, embodying the continuity of knowledge and the enduring rhythm of the natural world. These spaces become repositories of memory, ethics and spiritual practice, linking generations across centuries. Even in decline, the Druidic influence is profound. Their emphasis on observation, ethical balance and connection with nature permeates folklore, local governance and cultural rituals. Seasonal festivals, medicinal knowledge, storytelling and poetic forms carry echoes of Druidic philosophy. Imagine the slow passage of seasons in a village: planting and harvest, solstices and equinoxes, births and funerals, each marked with rituals subtly shaped by Druidic wisdom. The presence of Druids is felt not only in formal gatherings but in the enduring cadence of life itself. The legacy of the Druids extends into collective imagination and later cultural memory. Roman writers, though often biased or distant, acknowledge the remarkable knowledge, influence and ethical guidance of these figures. Centuries later, the reverence for sacred landscapes, seasonal rhythms and oral tradition echoes the enduring patterns established by the Druids. Picture a quiet meadow centuries after Roman departure, where children play among the stones of an ancient circle, and elders recount stories of wise teachers beneath oaks. The rhythm of life continues, subtly shaped by the enduring echoes of Druidic presence. As night descends, the reflection on decline and legacy becomes gentle meditation. Imagine the slow flow of a river under moonlight, mist rising from its banks and the faint, steady outline of hills in the distance. Druids of the past may no longer be visible in formal authority, yet their influence lingers in patterns of thought, moral reflection, seasonal observance and ethical guidance. In this serene imagery, the continuity of wisdom, the reverence for nature and the calm presence of guiding figures provide comfort, grounding and a quiet connection across centuries. Tonight, as you allow these images to drift through your mind, let the decline of formal Druidic authority be softened by the enduring nature of their teachings. Visualize sacred groves, quiet rivers, stone circles and reflective figures moving deliberately through the landscape. Sense the continued rhythm of life, the balance of human and natural cycles, and the lasting imprint of ethical, observational and spiritual guidance. In this calm reflection, the legacy of the Druids becomes a gentle, sustaining presence, inviting rest, contemplation and peaceful sleep. As we drift through the centuries, we reach a point where the Druids, though diminished in formal authority, take on an almost mythic presence in the consciousness of Britain and beyond. Their teachings, rituals and philosophy persist quietly, woven into folklore, memory and imagination. The end of one era becomes the gentle seed for another, as the rhythm of life, the observation of nature and the moral and spiritual guidance of these figures continue to ripple across time. Imagine the landscapes of Britain in this later age: rolling hills, misted valleys, quiet rivers winding beneath the soft glow of dawn. The forests are alive with the low hum of wildlife, the song of birds, the rustle of leaves in the wind, the distant bleating of sheep. In these serene spaces, the memory of Druids persists, felt in the careful observation of the natural world, in the quiet reflection of elders, and in the stories passed to younger generations. Their presence is intangible yet pervasive, a gentle pulse beneath the surface of daily life. Even as Roman influence wanes and new kingdoms emerge, the Druids' philosophy retains its relevance. Their emphasis on interconnectedness, ethical reflection and harmony with the natural and cosmic order continues to inform communities. Farmers still time planting and harvest with attention to lunar cycles. Healers consult herbs and rituals with care reminiscent of Druidic guidance, and storytellers recount tales of ancestors, heroes, and wise teachers beneath the ancient oaks and by flowing streams. Imagine a quiet morning in a village. Dew on the grass, smoke rising from chimneys, and the subtle rhythm of life guided by principles that echo the teachings of Druids long gone. Druidic influence also endures in the spiritual imagination. Even without formal gatherings or centralized authority, sacred sites, groves, stone circles and riverbanks remain focal points for reflection and ritual. Villagers may leave offerings, recite prayers, or simply walk quietly through these spaces, sensing the lingering presence of wisdom and guidance. Visualize a stone circle at twilight, the long shadows of standing stones stretching across frost-touched ground, the air fragrant with herbs and smoke, and the quiet resonance of human and natural rhythm intertwining. Such moments connect the present to the distant past, allowing continuity of belief and reflective practice. Festivals, too, retain traces of Druidic structure. Seasonal celebrations, marking solstices, equinoxes, harvest, and renewal, persist in adapted forms. Communities gather, offering food, fire, and song to honor the cycles of the earth and sky. These festivals carry both practical and symbolic significance, guiding agricultural work, reinforcing social cohesion, and nurturing spiritual awareness. Picture a midsummer evening, villagers dancing slowly around a central fire, the golden light of sunset casting long shadows, while the gentle cadence of chants and poetry carries the essence of Druidic ritual into memory and practice. Storytelling, perhaps the most enduring Druidic legacy, continues to shape moral reflection and communal identity. Tales of ancestors, heroic deeds, and ethical guidance are passed from generation to generation. Even when details blur or transform, the underlying rhythm and lesson remain. Imagine children sitting cross-legged at the feet of elders beside a warm fire, eyes wide, absorbing the cadence of stories that have traveled centuries. Each tale is both entertainment and instruction, linking past, present, and future in a gentle, meditative flow. The observational and ethical practices of the Druids also survive subtly in everyday life. Communities cultivate mindfulness, attentiveness, and respect for natural cycles, drawing from the wisdom passed down through stories, ritual, and practical guidance. Farmers watch the skies for seasonal change, herbalists note the growth patterns of medicinal plants, and villagers pause to reflect on moral choices and social harmony. Picture a quiet morning in a forest, a villager tending to crops, another gathering herbs, the soft hum of life intertwined with the rhythms of nature and inherited Druidic insight. Even in the evolving political landscape, Druidic principles persist. New kings and chieftains rise, but the emphasis on ethical counsel, balance in decision-making, and consideration of long-term consequences echoes the ancient guidance of Druids. Imagine a council of leaders convening in a shaded grove, mindful of past precedents, listening to the soft counsel of an elder who embodies the calm, reflective qualities of Druidic teaching. Decisions are made not in haste, but with deliberate attention, connecting governance to ethical, environmental, and social rhythms. Druidic philosophy also continues to influence artistic expression. Poetry, music, carvings, and ornamental craft often bear symbolic meanings inherited from earlier practices. Art is not only aesthetic but reflective of ethical and spiritual principles. Picture a craftsman at dawn, chiseling a design on wood that reflects the cycles of the sun and moon, the harmony of human and natural worlds, and the principles of balance and continuity. The gentle repetition of rhythm in craft mirrors the steady, unhurried passage of seasons, echoing the philosophical foundations of Druidic thought. In reflection, the Druids' enduring mystique is a testament to the subtle power of observation, wisdom, and ethical presence. Even as formal structures fade, the rhythms they cultivated, attentiveness, harmony, reflection, and continuity, persist in human life. Imagine the soft flow of a river under moonlight, the gentle sway of trees in the night breeze, and the quiet resonance of rituals and teachings carried across generations. The Druids' presence is not loud or commanding but deeply calming, like a steady heartbeat beneath the surface of daily existence. Their influence reaches even into memory and imagination. Tales of Druids advising kings, observing the stars, guiding seasonal rituals, and walking quietly among forests and rivers persist in folklore and cultural consciousness. These narratives provide a reflective lens through which communities understand ethics, time, and the natural world. Picture a quiet evening, villagers recounting stories under a canopy of stars, recalling ancient wisdom, and sensing the subtle guidance of those who came before. In this imagery, the Druids' legacy becomes both soothing and instructive, gently shaping thought, reflection, and ethical awareness. As we drift toward the close of this chapter, we can imagine the timeless rhythm of Druidic Britain. Forests alive with movement, rivers flowing steadily, stone circles bathed in moonlight, and communities carrying forward wisdom, reflection, and ethical guidance. Even in centuries far removed from their peak, the Druids' influence endures through the cadence of life, the attention to cycles, and the cultivation of harmony between humans, nature, and cosmos. Tonight, as you settle into quiet contemplation, allow these images to flow gently through your mind. Picture the quiet groves, the soft fires, the recitation of verse, the measured steps of ritual, and the reflective presence of teachers guiding without force. Sense the continuity of life, the interwoven cycles of human and natural existence, and the enduring calm of Druidic insight. In this serene reflection, the wisdom, rituals, and moral guidance of the Druids offer a gentle, sustaining rhythm, inviting your thoughts to rest, your body to relax, and your mind to drift peacefully into sleep. As we enter the final chapter of our journey through ancient Britain, we explore the enduring legacy of the Druids, whose presence continues to echo in folklore, cultural memory, and even modern imagination. Though centuries have passed since the Druids walked among the hills and forests of Britain, their wisdom, rituals, and philosophy remain subtly woven into the fabric of storytelling, landscape, and communal life. In the gentle quiet of night, with moonlight spilling across hills and rivers, the memory of these remarkable figures persists like a soft, steady pulse beneath the surface of history. The Druids' influence on folklore is profound. Stories of wise teachers, mystical figures, and sacred groves populate myths and legends across Britain. Tales recounting Druidic rituals, magical insight, or moral guidance are passed down orally, often evolving in detail but retaining core themes of ethical reflection, reverence for nature, and cosmic awareness. Imagine a village storyteller seated beside a fire, speaking softly to attentive children. The flames flicker and cast gentle shadows, and with each word, the listener is transported to misty groves, stone circles, and sacred rivers where Druids once walked. These stories are more than entertainment. They preserve memory, convey ethical lessons, and maintain a sense of connection to the past. Even the natural landscape carries traces of Druidic legacy. Ancient oak groves, meandering rivers, standing stones, and hilltops continue to inspire awe and reflection. Communities often maintain these spaces as sacred or special, even when the original purpose of ceremonies has faded. Imagine walking through a quiet forest at dawn, mist curling around ancient trunks, dew glistening on moss, the faint song of a bird echoing in the distance. Here, the lingering presence of Druidic reverence for nature is palpable, offering a calm, meditative atmosphere that invites reflection and mindfulness. Seasonal festivals, once meticulously guided by Druidic observation, have influenced cultural practices for centuries. Celebrations of solstices, equinoxes, and harvest cycles persist in adapted forms, often blending folk traditions, agricultural rituals, and communal gatherings. Picture a midsummer festival today. Firelight illuminates faces, music drifts across meadows, and communities mark the turning of the seasons with offerings, songs, and reflection. These observances echo the rhythms once attuned by Druids, maintaining a subtle harmony between human life and natural cycles. In art and literature, Druidic motifs continue to inspire. Carvings, metalwork, poetry, and storytelling often incorporate symbolic representations of trees, rivers, stars, and moral lessons reminiscent of Druidic philosophy. Imagine a painter or poet capturing the curve of a river, the silhouette of an oak, or the glow of moonlight on a misted hillside, infusing their work with both aesthetic beauty and reflective depth. In these expressions, the Druidic emphasis on observation, harmony, and moral awareness quietly endures, bridging past and present. The ethical and philosophical teachings of Druids have also subtly influenced human thought. Concepts such as interconnectedness, respect for nature, reflection before action, and the integration of moral and practical guidance echo through folklore, proverbs, and cultural norms. Communities continue to honor these principles in daily life, whether in agriculture, medicine, social decision-making, or personal reflection. Imagine a farmer observing the cycles of crops and weather, a healer preparing herbs with care, or an elder guiding young members of a village in moral reasoning, all echoing the attentive, ethical, and reflective practices once embodied by Druids. Historical accounts, though often biased, preserve aspects of Druidic reputation. Roman writers, Christian chroniclers, and later historians recount the influence of Druids on society, governance, and spirituality. Even when filtered through distant perspectives, these records acknowledge the remarkable knowledge, ethical guidance, and enduring presence of these figures. Imagine reading a chronicle by candlelight, the words transporting the mind to misty groves, stone circles, and reflective figures guiding communities with calm wisdom. In these accounts, the essence of Druidic life is preserved for future generations, maintaining continuity with the past. The modern imagination continues to be captivated by Druids. From literature and poetry to film and educational explorations, the figure of the Druid embodies wisdom, mystery, and harmony with nature. Yet beyond romanticized imagery, careful study and historical scholarship reveal the grounded, practical, and ethical core of their influence. Picture a quiet evening walk in a countryside dotted with ancient monuments. As you move among standing stones or beneath venerable oaks, the mind senses a calm continuity, an echo of the reflective presence that Druids once embodied. This awareness fosters a gentle connection across centuries, blending history, imagination, and meditation. Even the practice of mindfulness, meditation, and nature observation in contemporary life resonates with Druidic principles. Slowing the pace of thought, observing subtle patterns, and reflecting on ethical choices echo the rhythms of Druidic practice. Imagine sitting beside a quiet stream, water flowing over stones, leaves swaying softly in a breeze, and the mind gradually settling into calm awareness. In this moment, the enduring wisdom of Druids, careful observation, ethical reflection, and harmonization with natural rhythms, provides a bridge between past and present, guiding thought toward serenity and understanding. Language itself retains Druidic echoes. Place names, local expressions, and oral traditions carry vestiges of their terminology, philosophical concepts, and cultural references. Even when the meanings have evolved, the cadence and structure reflect an attentiveness to memory, rhythm, and moral instruction characteristic of Druidic oral tradition. Imagine hearing an elder recount a local legend. The phrasing, the repetition, and the deliberate rhythm of words create a reflective space in which historical and ethical understanding merge with imagination. The past resonates gently in every syllable. In reflecting on the Druids' legacy, it is essential to consider the subtlety of their influence. They did not conquer with armies, nor did they leave vast written texts. Instead, their impact endures through observation, teaching, ethical guidance, ritual, and storytelling. Picture the quiet flow of daily life in a village. Seasonal work, communal gatherings, attention to natural cycles, and reflective teaching, all echoing principles cultivated by Druids. Their presence persists as a calm undercurrent, shaping thought, practice, and imagination long after the peak of their societal authority. As we drift toward the end of our exploration, imagine the landscapes of Britain. Hills bathed in soft morning light, rivers winding silently through valleys, ancient groves exuding quiet presence, and standing stones reflecting centuries of sun and moonlight. The wisdom, ethics, and reflective practices of the Druids ripple through time, touching communities, folklore, and imagination. Their influence is not loud or commanding. It is subtle, pervasive, and enduring, like the soft flow of a river beneath the surface of the land. Tonight, as you allow these images and reflections to settle gently in your mind, sense the quiet continuity of Druidic influence. The gentle rhythm of the seasons, the ethical guidance woven into stories, the attentive observation of nature, and the reflective presence that has shaped generations. Picture yourself walking slowly through a misted grove, the soft murmur of wind in the trees, the calm flow of a river beside you, and the quiet resonance of teachings carried across centuries. In this serene space, the Druids' legacy becomes a gentle, sustaining rhythm, guiding thought, reflection, and the restful flow of sleep.